Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Manuel Godoy here, and today we have a special guest. It's not really a guest because he's always working for you guys, but basically, Turnus Derat. He is here from Black Sand Studios. He's the head of the studio, working on the animation right now, and this is probably one of the biggest updates we're going to be giving you in a long time. Okay, a lot of animation you're going to be seeing, a lot of process, and all that stuff. And a lot of questions and answers. All right. Any questions you ask in this live stream, we're going to bring up. We're going to be answering them directly. Turnus, for all the people who don't know who the heck you are, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, everybody. My name's Turnus Derat. Like I said, Manuel, I'm a head of the studio for Black Sand Studios. That's a partnership between me and Manuel. We're developing and producing animated content based on Black Sand's original IP. So we're basically taking that stuff and producing it and bringing it to market. And yeah, that's what I'm doing. I've been in the industry about 28 years. I started out as an artist, a technical director, VFX supervisor, and I've worked on a lot of films, both for Disney, Pixar, most recently with Braun Studios, doing animation for them. I did 3 TV series and 2 feature films, and basically built that studio from the ground up. Over about 8 years, I took that studio from about 5-6 people to 150. And now I'm working with Manuel on Black Sands because this is the next big thing.
Dope. And we're about 70% done, right? We're close to 70%, something like that.
Yeah, we got through all of our assets. So all of our character assets are built and rigged, and they're in animation. Our set is about 50 to 60% complete. We're working on that. So we're getting that built and textured, and that's going to come in. And Previz, which is basically the building of the shots before we give it to the animators, that's about 60% done, I'd say. And then our animatic, I'd say, what are we about, like 80% done on the animatic. We have some revisions coming through storyboards. So we're feeding those in because we wanted to make the fight scene a little bit more dynamic, a little like stronger feeling. So we got a revisionist on and we revised those sequences, and now they're in editorial getting cut in. So that animatic's getting updated. And in animation, I'd say we're about halfway done in actual like keyframe animation. And then we're starting to see some early lighting tests as well. So that's getting going. And so our last little bits of recruiting, we have some lighters that we're bringing on board and some 2D effects artists. And that's what we're at. Yeah.
Lighters, 2D effect artists, obviously Unity people. We love Unity people. Not Unity, Unreal, right? Unreal people.
Unreal. Yeah.
Unreal Engine.
And also people in 2D using Harmony or Toon Boom.
Now, we have a lot of Black animators on our production. Just so happens that's the situation. Most of our animators are young Black men who are kind of, I would say, intermediate in this space, right? Yeah. They're middle of the road people. They're not the best of the best, but they are getting trained up by Turnus and Dillon. Can you talk about Dillon for a second? Who is Dillon? Who's in charge of our actual animation quality?
Yeah, well, we're very, very fortunate. I was able to talk to Dillon. So Dillon Brown is a former colleague of mine from Pixar Canada. He was actually my boss back there. He was the head of creative for the whole studio. So basically when Pixar decided to make their Canadian satellite studio, they put him in charge of that studio. And so he came up, formed Pixar Canada. I joined them a short time later as a technical artist and rigger. And Dillon's phenomenal. Like, he was the character lead on Mr. Incredible on The Incredibles. He did one of the dopest clips that you'll ever see, which is when Mr. Incredible is getting hit by all the goo balls when he's trying to get through this passageway to his family. He's really action focused, and he's just like hardcore, one of the best animators out there in the business. He's directed, he's been an animation director for years. He's been out there like 28 years, just like me. He's been a long time vet, and he's helping to grow and, lead that team. So we have these young guys on the team, and they've got like an amazing mentor. We couldn't be luckier, honestly. Like, it's amazing.
Yeah. Hey, now here's a good question there. Say, can we see some clips? Yeah, you're gonna see some clips in a second. All right. We just want to let you know that for all you people who are planning on being investors in our animation and actually buying a piece of the license in the future, right? This is important. Knowing that we actually got like the top level professionals working at our studio is literally the most important part of animation. Because one thing if it's just a whole bunch of guys who are like, hey, we're gonna make an animation, right? It's another thing when people who've worked on billion-dollar IPs, right, at the highest level of those billion-dollar IPs, right, are now working on Black Sands. You understand? We try to make money here. We ain't trying to just make something they'll get like 10,000 views on YouTube and then be like, yes, we did it. 2 years, baby, we did it. Yeah, that's not our game plan. We need to take over. So
there's some other stuff in there too, like, you know, these are kind of boring details, but they're important to investors, important to people who think about the dollars and cents. Like when we built out our character pipe, we have a pipeline where we built our prototype males, like for the teenage boys, for the adult men, and we're going to do the same thing for the women. And because we set that up in a modular way and we built it like thinking about the future, when we start building new characters and when we start putting those through the pipe, they're going to go through like way faster because we invested all this time building out a prototype system on those baseline characters. So that's kind of like building a factory to make, like high volume animation down the line. So those are the kind of things that I bring to the table from having done a lot of like studio building and working on pipelines over the years, like seeing where you can build efficiencies into a pipe and where you can realize that capitalization cost down the road. And that, because we want to be a powerhouse for a long time to come. So that's what that's about. And on the talent front, we also have some other amazing talent on the show. Our lead editor is Scott Winlaw. He just recently came off lead editing on Invincible, and he is lead editor on Addams Family 2. And
Scott's crazy. Scott
is he's crazy talented, and like honestly, like editorial is where the whole film lives and dies. And that's we have one of the most talented guys in the world on the show.
Got you. All right. Here's a question before we go into the clips. He said, will this follow the comic or is there room for writing different stories? All right. So the answer to this is it's based on the comics, but in a more mature setting. So in other words, everything's reimagined from what the comics are telling you. So if there's a fight between Bess and Nassar in the comics, there's a fight between Bess and Nassar in the show, but it's different, right? It's not the same fight. It's not the same scenario. You know what I'm saying? Mostly because what we're doing with the animation is we're setting a different age group for the anime, right? So when you have the books, a lot of people get in there for this really young kids. So we can't go crazy. We can't go and make it the way an ancient cultural story is supposed to be. But once you go into the anime realm, at this point, they should be teenagers anyway if they're watching this. They can still be young, but not no 5-year-olds should be watching no Black Sands unless their parents are about that life. You know what I'm saying? and that means that we're gonna have more edgy stuff in there. It's gonna be more violent. It's gonna be more visceral, right? Because we got the median. We're going to a different kind of audience. So that's what's up with that. Now let's get into these clips. All right, let's get into these clips. So first of all, where should we go with it first? Should we go into, let me see if I can make this a little bigger. Did that help? Let's see. I'm gonna see. We're gonna get rid of this side. There we go. Did that help?
Yeah.
Yeah, that made it bigger. All right, cool. So what we're gonna be doing, we're gonna be going through these. I don't know if we got the sound on, but you'll see if you'll see it. Let's see, where are we at? There's a lot of animations here, so I'm just trying to figure out exactly where we are on this timeline.
Yeah, most of the later versions will be down at the bottom.
Yeah. So this is one of the shots that we're actually finishing up, right? So if you look at this is how he walks in, right? So this is a pre-rendered vision of how he's going to walk into the room, right? It's pre-rendered, which means that this is not fully implemented yet. But when we go out and we actually see, this is like the first shot we're actually taking to like final render, right? Because we need to show something. This is more like the vibe of how this shot's going to be, showing to you right now. Now, do you see how different it is from how it was in the other shot? Like that's how detailed the characters look. They look kind of painted, almost as if it is like a 2D feel to it. Like you see how the render, how the paint on the body, right? The muscle tones, the jewelry looks freaking phenomenal, right? And that's the vibe of what we're making here. Some people say it's very similar to what was it? Clone Wars? How do you feel about that? Do you think that's a good accurate assessment?
I think it's a step up from that, big time.
That's what I was thinking too. I was thinking more like League of Legends or something. That's how I was feeling about it. A little League of Legends.
Yeah, that's our inspiration, right? Like League of Legends and Legends of Runeterra.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, let me ask you guys in the comment section, please let me know, what do you think of this art style? Because this is close to final render. All right, we obviously don't have a background here, right? So it's not really in scene, but you can
that's not done.
You can easily see how the lighting is, how the actual like muscle tone and how the textures look, right? It feels kind of like if you ever seen the League of Legends Runeterra stuff, right? Then it gets nuts. It gets nuts really fast, and this right here is looking really good right now.
You can show those still images as well, the close-ups.
One person said this is mad luxurious. You know what's funny about that statement? That actually sounds right. Like if you were saying something like, luxurious. That's it. Like it's a good word for it, even though it's not necessarily a masculine word. It's a good word for it because luxurious means, right? It's like there's regular stuff. There's the stuff you see every day, and then there's like the premium stuff that's not available to everyone, right? So it's luxurious. So it's like this looks luxurious. Sounds so damn real. I like that statement. That's a good one.
We should save that for like some website promo.
Luxurious black anime.
This is mad luxurious black anime.
Let's see. Someone said it looks very realistic. Now that's something that we did want too. We want that feel of like it's like it sits between worlds, right? 2D, 3D, real, right? That's that new age animation that's very high end. Like most people don't even do animation like this. Only like the $1 billion companies do animation like this. That's like Legends of Runeterra, Apex Legends, all these ridiculously high Warcraft, all these ridiculously high level like companies. That's their animation style, and only a couple of people know how to do this. You know what I'm saying? And Turnit's recruited in order to make sure that we can hit this throughout the entire show. You know what I mean? Let's see what else. Oh yeah, someone said they're a fan of the Runeterra animations. I love that stuff too, man. I watch every last one of them.
Yeah, that's definitely an inspiration of ours. We looked at that stuff for reference. We're like, that's a really tight look, and I think it respects the anime feeling.
Yeah,
and it really gets that look, that high quality look that we want to get.
But not everything, because there's some goofy stuff in Legends of Runeterra. But the ones like the Noxus ones, like anything with Noxus, if it has a freaking what's his name? Darius. If it has Darius in there, that's the vibe we're trying to get with Black Sands. When Darius is walking around with that big ass axe, like nobody serves anyone. That energy, right? Darius got that raw energy. So that's what we're trying to catch here. All right, Turnus, maybe you can tell him, maybe you can tell her what is going to be different about this shot in final render compared to what it is right now.
Sure. So one of the things that we're working on right now, we're going to get a color script from our production designer. So the illustrator of the comics, Hydrus, he's also production designer on our show. So he's provided all the character design reference, everything else. And one of the things that you do before you go into lighting is you get a color script. And what that is, basically, it's like little tiny thumbnail images of what the color temperature of the overall image is and what the look and feel of it is supposed to be, but in a kind of simplified version. And we give that to the lighters, and then what they do is they try to match it and get that feeling, but with that final level of detail and quality. So what we're going to do is we're going to give that stuff over to David. He's going to give us some of the key thumbnails for us, and we're going to look at them and kind of say yay or nay and adjust, and then we're going to give that back to the lighters, and the lighters are going to then say okay, like, and then they'll go in and like tweak that stuff. So sometimes, like for instance, in a 2D animation or in illustration, when you look at a night scene, it doesn't really look like night. It looks like you see like hues of purple and blue and, you know, like deep purples, and that's how you represent dark colors, like in a night scene. So when we get into this, what you might see when he's in the shadows, you might see something that's a little bit more like with grays and purples and like dark blues, or it might be something where it's like very deep reds and deep like you know, ochres and like those kind of colors, like when he's in the shadow. And then when he comes into the light, you see a change in that color temperature, and you see a change in how that transition happens from shadow to light. And those are the kind of things that is going to give it that 2D feeling, like give it like sort of root it in that and ground it in that like kind of 2D and sort of strong anime feel. But we're also giving it shading and lighting so that you see that shape and those 3D shapes coming through. So those are the things that might change. And then when you take things into final comp, because once you're in lighting, this is just pure lighting. This hasn't been touched in compositing. But then when you kick it over to compositing, usually what the compositors do is they add like a last layer, like a color grade. So they'll give it like a certain tweak to kind of, you know, soften it and bring some of the colors together. Like Manuel gave me a note today about, you know, wanting things to have like kind of a red overall tone, like, you know, some reds and some, you know, pulling those kind of tones onto the overall picture. And usually the compositors do that. They'll do a color grade and bring everything together.
So I don't know how many of you guys actually watch Spartacus, right, on Stars, right? But in general, if you watch Spartacus or even 300, right, even when it's sunny outside, it's dark, right? Even when it's sunny, it's dark. It feels kind of like it's animated when it's not, right? It just has this level of ominous surrealism, right? It's not a sunny, bright day. It's never a sunny, bright day in 300. No matter what time of day it is, it's always a little dark, right? And that idea is what we want to have in Black Sands, where it's like a tone. Everything's a tone. There's a mood to every shot. The lighting will not be realistic. It's gonna be mood lighting. It's gonna be, the scene is going to dictate how the light of that moment's going to be. You'll still be able to tell it's day, right, or night, right? But you know something's up, right? All right. It's like when the sky gets dark in Dragon Ball Z, right? You're like, oh, okay, I know something about to go down, right? It's like it's a little darker, right? It's like that's the kind of vibe that we're gonna get with this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, story-driven lighting. So like everything's a little bit meta. Like when you want to emphasize a mood or a feeling, like that lighting is going to help like kind of support the story points that we're trying to make.
Yep. So let's see here. What's the animation programs being used? I think, what are they using right now for just the base animations before they go into Unreal? Or is it all done in Unreal?
No. So the modeling, rigging, and animation is all done in Maya. And all the camera work, everything like that is all done in Maya. And then what we're doing is we're exporting out the 3D animation from Maya into Unreal Engine for final lighting. And the reason why we're doing that is to take advantage of some things. Unreal has a real-time renderer, which really simplifies the computing processing time that you normally have to take for rendering. And the other big advantage is it has some built-in things for like cloth and hair and some of the things that normally are quite expensive to do by hand. So we're leveraging some of those tools in Unreal to do that for us. So some of the stuff that we want to see automatically.
Yeah, we want to do a $150 million show for 30 million. So we're gonna have to we're gonna have to cut some corners where we can, right? We ain't got that Disney money. Let's see. Let's go back into the animations. Let's go to the other stuff that's in pre-render phase, right? Early alpha. So let's go to that stuff. Maury, why are you pressing so many buttons? What's going on over there?
I'm building fast. Okay, I want to win Fortnite. I don't need to get kills.
Hey, Valencia, you can't play right now, okay? I'm in a meeting.
Yeah, if it does.
Maybe if you stop yapping, I'm trying to do a meeting right now, Valencia. The kids don't care what you're doing. They don't care if you're paying for their college or not. They want to play Fortnite right now.
Stop.
Hey. All right, so let's go ahead. Let's get into this animation. I'm going to take this comment off so we aren't blocking anything. Let's go into it. So first of all, let's go to here, right? There we go. Oh, wait a minute. Let's go into the storyboard. So there's a couple of things in here that we really liked. So let's go and see if I can find certain shots. Was this already redone or?
Yeah, if you go to 11, that's the last revision. So that was the final.
Yeah, I think we didn't edit this though. I think we kept it all this. Yeah, I think we kept all that. So let's go look at this real quick from how this was done, and you can see where we're going with this combat phase, right? So here we go. So this is basically the storyboard, right, of how the first sequence of attacks are going to happen on this episode. So we're only going to give you this part too because we don't want to spoil anything, right? But we're going to give you this part right here.
Commit can do.
See, so when you look at that right there, you see how we have like a lot of rotating cameras, right? Rotating cameras is going around. A lot of strikes are being dodged by Bess. If you're going to see in this fight, Bess is a fighter who's not faster than Asar, right? But Asar is absurdly more powerful. So you're going to see that mechanic going out throughout the entire fight. And just to let you know, this animation is going to be 7.5 minutes or more. That's what we're shooting for at the end of this. Let's go grab a scene real quick before. Oh yeah, so yeah, get punched in the face if you want. You know how Asar is gonna deal with stuff like that. You know, he don't like getting embarrassed. Right? But yeah, I don't want to spoil too much. It's like a really small clip of what's going on, but this is a very long scene, and we just want to show you something of how the storyboard works. And let's get into the actual scenes that we're rendering out right now. This is all pre-alpha, right? Where were we at last time? There we were. So I don't know if we started here or here. Let's see. All right, I think this is where we start having some good hookups. All right.
5 years. I took him into the wilderness for 5 years.
Yeah, I took him into the wilderness for 5 years. And then he goes. Oh, yeah. It was this one, right?
5 years? How did you survive 5 years training with Ra?
I think we revised that one, right? So Dillon said that maybe we should change the angles of how we're actually showing this scene, right? So he decided to do a couple of revisions on that. But then here's the hookup where we have this scene. You guys follow this entire scene throughout and check it out. And this is, remember, this is pre-rendered, so it's going to look beautiful afterwards, right? But this is how it goes.
Forbid this battle. You will stop nothing. This is my kingdom. And this is my honor. Damn it, brother. Why must you feel like this all the time? Either they settle their grievances in honorable battle, or we do in their stead. Control yourself. So no innocent bystanders get hurt. Now show your proper respect.
Then they go.
Yes, sir.
Now this is so that was basically an entire like scene. It was like like almost close to like I say 45 seconds of the animation right there in unison, right? All the way from beginning to end, right, throughout those. Let's get some feedback from people in the comment section and talk us through it, Turnus. What did we just see? What was that whole? What was the idea of hooking up scenes between each other, right?
Yeah.
Making sure they connect, all that stuff. What's that about?
Yeah, so basically once the storyboard sequence is done and the editor gets a hold of it, he cuts it all together and he basically is like delineating like the actual length of the shots and what the audio sounds like across the whole thing. Then what happens is we give it over to our Previz guy who basically is setting up the camera and the staging of the characters. And what he's doing is he's building shots that are matching what you see in the editorial of the animatic. So he builds shot for shot what each thing is happening in editorial. And then we give it over to the animators to animate, and they animate at a shot level. And what you try to do in animation to kind of help with the flow is oftentimes you have an action that begins in one shot and ends in another. So the best example I always use is like throwing a baseball. Like someone might wind up, and then they go reach back and then they start throwing. But like midway through the throw, you cut. And then on the next shot, you have a different angle, which may be the angle of the batter, like the point of view of a catcher or something like that. And you see the pitcher finishing the throw and the ball getting released. And in animation, we always call that a hookup. And a hookup is just how one action flows through to the next shot. And it's what it gives it that, that flow. And there's all kinds of concepts in there, like related to where the action happens in the frame. So sometimes we have a concept called eye trace, which is like if an action ended like at this particular part of the frame, like up here, and on the next frame, you kind of catch the action at that same point, you know what I mean? So that your eye doesn't get lost, or that you don't get lost in the continuity of the shots. So that's really what the Previz guy does, is he's setting up all that continuity for you. Hopefully the board artist did a lot of that for you beforehand, so it's just like copy and paste. But sometimes when you get into like complex 3D cameras, it's a little bit hard to declare in boards. And then when you get into the actual 3D, it's a little tougher. So that's one of the reasons. But yeah, what you see from shot to shot is like sometimes dialogue will end at the end of one shot and you finish the dialogue at the other, or you're letting the line end, but you're switching the camera to the receiving party. So like you might hear the end of a Petimax line, but now you're focusing really on Ra's face because you're trying to see what's his reaction. Like what's his reaction to what the guy's saying? Because the reactions are usually more interesting, than the person actually speaking. Like somebody might be saying some stuff like I'm watching Manuel just laughing right now, right? Like the reactions are better than the speaking part, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see here. Let's go on to the other piece as well. So that was that scene. We went there. Boom, boom, boom.
Oh, a little tip.
Scene. I actually commented on this one right here because I love the energy in this scene, right? And hopefully we can keep this kind of energy because he did two different versions of this one, right? And I'll let you guys decide as well which one you like the most. But this is the one I like the most of this version. I'm gonna show it to you, and then I'm gonna show you the other one as well.
Soft oversteps, father. He goes off with the Pharaoh, and now he thinks he stands a chance against me.
So that's that one, and then here's the other version of the same exact shot.
Soft oversteps, father. He goes off with the Pharaoh, and now he thinks he stands a chance against me.
So on one, he's standing up a lot taller, right? He's not leaning over as much. But for some reason, the way I see it, like he just knocked Asar in his ass. So Asar is getting up off the ground right now. So him leaning over to actually like talk shit to him, like that's how you talk to somebody you just knocked down. Like yeah, son, what you go get up? That kind of energy is what I would assume somebody would have after they knock you on your behind. You know what I mean? But everybody got their own opinions. So what's y'all opinions in the comment section? I'll let y'all see that one too.
Goes off with the Pharaoh, and now he thinks he stands a chance against me.
Yeah, oftentimes when we talk to the animators, we try to give them the headline of the shot. So we'll tell them like, okay, in this shot, in the beginning, Bess is trying not to get in trouble with his dad. So like in the beginning, he's like pleading with his father. He's like, hey, Asar overstepped. Like, he came to me. Like, I'm not.
He
not
can't,
my fault.
man, I do nothing.
It's not my fault. I had to hit him. You know, like, and then when he turns to Asar, the second part of the headline is, you know, talking shit, like get in his face a little bit, like trash talk, you know, make him feel small. You know what I mean? Like that was the goal.
So I'm hearing some comments here. They kind of split, man. See, they don't. I'm hearing a lot of 2s and 1s, so they split on it. What they're saying. Here's an actual like detailed comment. Not that one. I like the first one because it does give Best more of a dominant aura, right? And it makes sense for Asar to be so upset and you know, and beat him later on, something like that. Yep. Yep. So and the other one says 2 is more majestic. It feels more majestic, number 2. So we'll see, right?
And you know what? Like, there's no right answer, right? Like, it's funny. Like,
yeah, there is a right answer if one was dead wrong, right?
Yeah. Well, the older version was wrong.
Sometimes it's just wrong. You're like, man, that don't look right at all. You know, it's like, but these 2 are very close, right? I just said I like number 1 just because I'm from New York. When somebody knocks you on your ass, that's the first thing they would do is get down there and say, hey, go clean yourself up, buddy. Yeah, clean yourself up. Now look at you. You know? Or everybody laughing about that TikTok stuff, talking about, you're not that guy. You're not that guy right now. He said, oh, you that guy? Oh, yeah, I'm that guy. You're not that guy. You know?
You're down there. He's like, you're just garbage.
Yeah. Well, Lindsay, what is going on? Go on now. Get out of here. Get out of here. Go upstairs. Go. Here. You ain't gonna play no Fortnite if you don't give me my time.
Hi, Valencia.
No, don't encourage her. Don't. Let's see what's next. I have a good question here. Why did you go 3D? Tell them, Turnus.
Well, first of all, it's the medium I know really well. Like, that's one reason. But another one is like production value. So I think like I've seen this with a lot of anime now too. A lot of anime is going 3D with sets and even with characters now. I've seen a lot of it. And
Demon Slayers.
It does give you, it gives you a lot of flexibility, especially with camera, especially with certain things that you can pull off. And I personally, for me, I thought the production really lent itself to having a real high production value and really going all out. And not to say that anime in 2D doesn't have high production value. In many cases it does. But for me, like, I felt like this really felt like, oh my God, it would look so good as like when I look at those good game cinematic trailers, like from Arcane or League of Legends. I just thought, man, this would look amazing in 3D. And I think too, it'll have natural tie-ins to like games. So when we start doing games, we'll already have our assets ready to go. A lot of these things.
That's very true.
Yeah.
What's to stop us from making a Telltale version of Raw?
Exactly.
But you guys play Raw, and you make the decisions. Huh?
And it's good. And it's good from an investment point of view too, because you have all these assets that you recapitalize over and over and over again. Like you've amortized all this cost. Like you've taken everything you've done, and now you can just keep reusing it. It's evergreen.
Word.
So, yeah.
People don't underestimate that. And we use the Unreal Engine. It's just a hop, skip, and a jump to a game. That easy. Hop, skip, and a jump. Yep. You say y'all don't even know. Y'all can have a fighting game just like that. You can make a Mortal Kombat with Black Sand just like that because we already have the characters already developed. We just gotta rig them a certain way where they're 2D instead of 3D. I mean they're 2D style, right? Yeah. Rigs. And that's it. But it's still the same thing. They use 3D models for everything, right? And then you have dope-ass cutscenes. You see all them cutscenes in Mortal Kombat? Those aren't the fighting rigs.
No.
Those aren't
production rigs.
Those are movie rigs, right? Those are the ones that we are using right now. And then they have the fight, when they get into the fight scenes, that's when they change the rig to the fight scene rig, you know what I mean? So that's what's up. Let's see. What else? Okay, a year and a half, definitely not disappointed. When will Turnus be finished? Yeah, when are we done? When are we done with this whole thing? Like, when do you think
Well, yeah, it's been tricky to predict, honestly, because of recruiting. That's been my main like sort of sticking point. If I could have filled every seat right in time when I needed them, I think we would have been done already. That's been a challenge. I think I had a really good interview with a lighter I used to work with at Disney today. That was like exciting for me. This guy Thomas, he's amazing. He worked for Epic for years, so he's an Unreal expert. And he's got amazing contact base as well. Mm-hmm. So, in terms of support and everything else, because he was actually in the fold at Epic, which is, fantastic for us. So it sounds like he's excited. I literally sent him the reference today and he's like super excited. So if he comes on board, I think like within, the next month, we're going to start seeing like a lot of these shots in final lighting and at least a full sequence going. I would say, because we're still waiting on Scott to cut in the revisions for the animatic and build out those shots into animation, we're still looking at another month past that at least for the animation to come through for the fight scenes. But I think like we're getting there. We're getting close. We're starting to close in on like real shot lighting, and I'm excited by it.
I'm excited too because I've been waiting forever and I'm paying for it. Damn it! So yeah. I want this bad boy out too. Let's see here. Let's see. Let's go check some more stuff out. Let's go see. Do we have to see? What's this one?
5 years.
Oh yeah, that's a new one.
How did you survive 5 years training with Ra?
Yeah, so that's the new revert. So before we had one where it was like 5 years and it was kind of like super like animated, right? Is it this one? Nope. Let's see. Let me see if I can find that exact scene. Nope. Yeah, I can't find this scene, man. Oh, here it is. This one, yeah.
5 years. How did you survive 5 years training with Ra?
So you see right there? Now he's not talking, right? This is all in his head, right? So Dillon said, hey, it's a little too much going on, right? It makes it seem like he's actually talking when he's not. So he can change it up. So this is what they changed it to. So
5 years. How did you survive 5 years training with Ra?
So you see, he's like his mouth is closed at the end, and he's still talking, right? Which means that he's clearly thinking it, right? He wants to make sure that nothing is seen that isn't clearly like shown out to people, right? Isn't clearly defined and given to people. So that's important when we're doing our stuff. We got people who are thinking about the intention of shots, right? And not necessarily just whether it's good animation or not, but what's the intention? You know what I'm saying? This is more of the lighting stuff, right? So this is let me see if I can get that page, right? So this is more like the render, right? How would the render be if we were in the desert? If it was like just straight up desert-like atmosphere, how would Ra look in that kind of lighting? And this is basically how he would look in that kind of lighting if we were just straight up in the desert. And we'll keep this in the background as we take questions. Now it's time for everybody to ask any questions they want. Also, if you don't remember, right now our investment round for BSP Comics is up, and we're at $605,000 raised so far. So thank you guys for investing in the BSP Comics app. It's doing phenomenal. And we're almost done with our audit. And then we can actually start giving people paperwork. Let's see. Let's go down. I'm going to look at these comments. At what point in the process? Oh yeah, here's a good question. At what point in the animation process do you add hair, and clothing physics, smoothing body motion?
Yeah, so we handle it in two different phases. So the smoothing, I usually call that the process I refer to is called character fineling. And character fineling is usually like if there's any small deformation in the rig that doesn't look right because maybe the animators posed it a little, over the top or whatever, we go back in, we sculpt that out. So we'll go in and hand sculpt that, clean it up, and then we save that before we process it out. We process it in what's called an alembic stream, which is basically like a geometry file format that then goes on to Unreal. Mm-hmm. And then for the clothing and hair, all of that sort of secondary physics and stuff like that, that gets handled in the engine itself. So the engine has some tools that automate some of that stuff for you. We can do it in Maya as well. It's just a lot more time consuming and expensive. It's a little bit more handwork in Maya, which in some shots we will have to do in Maya just because of the speed changes. So when you do things too fast in animation, like if a motion is hyper exaggerated fast and you do that in Maya, the physics don't really work. Like it breaks the physics because the physics don't respect that fast motion. Or they do, but it just reacts in a way that is just unrealistic or unappealing. So what we'll do is we'll hand animate some of that stuff, like the cloth and hair, on those scenes. And then we'll sometimes have to do what we call like a full simulation in Maya. But in other cases, we don't have to do that. We can just do it all in the engine and let the engine handle all the secondary, like, the cloth kind of waving, or the limbs in the body, like pushing the drapes, the drapery of the clothing around.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. Now that's the very end, right? When we're doing the hair and the clothing, that's like a very end of
that's right before you go final lighting. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's super at the end. Like none of that stuff will be done anytime soon. That's too much.
No.
That's too
all
much.
The acting and all the choices that the animators make and getting that timing, really fluid and smooth. We final that first, and then we go in for that like little, I call it like polishing.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Is it going to strictly follow the comics? No. It's going to be it's going to follow the same story of the comics, but it's going to be more mature. So, but it is the same story. It's just more mature. You know what I mean? Let's see. Would you ever release this so people can? I don't understand that question. If you're talking about licensing, I would only license to like really established companies, just because you got to have the capacity to do a lot of sales. Otherwise, there's no point. Nobody's gonna make any money. Figures cost a lot. Let's see. What else? There's a lot of stuff here. How long do you plan the pilot to be? 7.5 minutes or more? Right? 7.5 to 8.5 max. But most likely that's where it's going to land, right? Because that's where we're at right now. And we might make the ending sequence a tad longer than it is, but the ending sequence is not real animation, right? It's more like an outro to the anime. So it's not as resource heavy as like the first, 7 minutes.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and it's kind of a promotional short. It can serve as a pilot, I guess, but it's it's really like a promotional short in a way.
Yeah, it's definitely promotional short because we're trying to raise capital for a full season, right? So that's what the whole purpose of this is. You make this, you prove that you can make something that will beat the dog piss out of anything on Netflix, right? And then you say, hey, I need Netflix money in order to make this show for real without anybody controlling us. And then everybody's going to give you money because they're going to be like, wow, that really could be better than Castlevania. Wow, that really could be better than every single anime on Netflix, and we can own it. I'm gonna put in 10,000, right? People gonna be like,
leverage.
Yeah, they're gonna be. I ain't gonna pay. I ain't doing no coins. We getting Black Sands license. That's what we're gonna do, right? That's what's gonna happen.
It helps your leverage all the way because like you walk into that room and you've got all the leverage because they can see that you can do it without their money, and they're like, okay, other people are going to come to the table and want to license this. They're going to want to like license it and pay to distribute it. And when you come in too early,
right? We can actually pre-sell all around the world, right? Yeah. So we can pre-sell immediately, right? When we get this done and we're already in production. The second we start production, and they see that we already started production with a couple $1 million, they're going to start buying rights before it even gets anywhere near the end. They're going to be like, I want that show.
And we'll retain all the IP. We'll retain all those back end rights and all that stuff. So like we're not giving anything away. It's like everything is ours to keep. Like you investors, like you all get like that, that reap those rewards basically from all of that licensing and merchandising that's going to come off the heels of that.
Yes.
So
Sure.
Yeah.
Let's see. Will there be a 2D animated version of Black Sands? Not by us. We're not going to do it. We don't got time. So we ain't going to be working on that. 2D is not for Black Sands. We're 3D at this point. We live or die 3D. Let's see. Did COVID play a part in the delay? Yes, but not in the way you think. So COVID didn't stop employees from working.
No.
What it did was it made employees work like crazy. And that's the opposite effect, because nobody was doing live action, nobody was doing real movies, everybody was doing animation, right? And Turnus looking for animators, and literally every single major studio in the world is over recruiting right now, because that's the only movies they could make during COVID was animations. So there was literally nobody around. Everybody was already in a deal somewhere. Right?
It was like the toughest recruiting market ever. Like I couldn't touch people, and believe me, I got good connects. It was really tough.
So hopefully next year will be super easy to recruit, and it will be once we actually have a full budget show. So it's different when you're recruiting for like a 7.5 minute animated short, right? But when you're doing like an actual season, you're giving people contracts that could be a year, 2 years long. And they'll pick you over a Disney princess any day of the week, because they've been doing it for 20 years and they're tired of freaking working on Disney princesses. These are grown-ass men. They're like 50 years old. They're 50 years old and they're sick and tired of drawing princesses. They just are.
That's me.
So it's easy to get them so long as you got a long-term contract with them. If you got a short-term, like a 3-month deal for this, right? It's harder for them to take that offer when so many offers are being thrown at them for 1 to 2 years and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
And people love this project. Like I've got people that have come on, like doing it part-time, doing it like on the side of their desk, like while they have their full-time gig. They want to do it, but it's like what Manuel said, like if they've got, a 2-year, 3-year commitment with a studio and I'm saying, hey, I got 3 months, quit your job. Like it's a little tougher. And, that's the thing. Like when we have that financing in place for the series, it's going to be no problem at all, because everybody loves this production and people like working on this product. So we're going to have no problem.
Yeah. I mean, think about it this way. It doesn't even matter if they're Black or not. It don't matter.
No.
You go and talk to somebody that's a seasoned animator that's been working on Disney princess their entire life, and they say, hey man, you know what? We'll pay you $20,000 less than what you get paid now. You can work remotely, so you don't have to come to the studio and get basically whipped all day, right? Like I said, and you can make some damn Spartans. That's it. They don't even care about just say, and you can make Spartans. And I don't mean no jolly men Spartans. I mean some fucking Spartans. So I'm gonna lay people out, and it's over. It's gonna be over. The conversation is not gonna go much further than that. They're gonna be like, wait a minute, so you mean to tell me this is a real like period piece and not no damn Disney princess, a whole bunch of goofy animals. You need an animal sidekick for every princess. There's an animal sidekick, right? You got it's like nah, ain't no animals here, man. Only animals here are dead. You know what I'm saying? So it's just an easy recruitment once we get the budget. You know what I mean? Let's see. When it's all done and polished, where will this be released? Well, it's funny because if we get close to the end for the production, we might start conversations on actually selling the short, right? As a distribution deal or something like that. People buy shorts, they buy shorts, and it doesn't hurt us at all to have a bigger platform. You know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't hurt us. We already did it, so it's not like we're losing.
If somebody wants to pay us distribution fees to release it like wherever in England and America, like we're game.
Yeah. So we'll be looking for that within like the last 2 months or something of the production. We know we're about to end right now. Like it's clear as hell that it's about to end. We're gonna start shopping it around, and we got contacts in Netflix and Amazon and Nickelodeon and all the places, so we can literally just go and approach them. You know what I'm saying? And say, hey, you want to buy this short? Right? It's like you got a whole season coming, but this is the short right now. You guys buy shorts all the time. Let's make this happen. And then who knows? Who do you plan on pitching this to? Well, I just answered that one, so I'll pull it up though. Just let you know I read it. All right, I read it, Tenny. Let's see.
Yeah, the other thing with distribution.
This person right here, Sadiq.
Oh, I want to talk to him.
Okay.
Yeah, so Sadiq, I've reached out to him. I've reached out to you, Sadiq. When I would love to bring you on the team if you're interested. I've seen your work. I like it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and
there you go.
I love your work. I think you're doing beautiful work, and I love what you're doing in Unreal. And yeah, if you want to join up, man, I'm all for it. I'll talk to you.
Okay, yeah. So actually check your mail, man. He probably already emailed you or something. So
no, I reached out to him on Facebook, I think.
Okay, cool. There you go. Check your Facebook DMs.
Love your work, man.
Is there a character for Thoth, the Atlantean priest king? Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. But that's way over my pay grade. Atlantean priest king. All I know is Tahuti, the god of knowledge. He's in the series, Thoth, Tahuti. But I don't know anything about Atlantis and stuff like that. That's not part of Black Sands. Let's see. We already answered that one. The answer is no. Let's see. Oh yeah, Assassin's Creed Origins. It was a good. I love it. It's funny that white Americans and Europeans, when they're making video games, have no problem talking about African cultures or history or whatever, and just doing it and not being like following the code of Hollywood, because Hollywood can't do it no matter what. Black people don't exist. They're all barbarians. That's just the way it is, right? But when it comes to video games, whether it's Crusader Kings or some Total War series or whatever, you're gonna have black people in Egypt, and Nubia or something. You're gonna have black people. Assassin's Creed, you're gonna find black people. What's it called? Black Flag or whatever. What the hell was it called? I don't know. It was the one about Haitian Revolution. Did a whole fucking expansion on Assassin's Creed about the Haitian Revolution. I don't know what the hell they were thinking, but it's like this wasn't a decision by a whole bunch of black people at Ubisoft, right? They were just saying, wouldn't it be cool if we did this, right? And they just did it. And I don't understand why there's such a huge blockade of black content and about cultures in Hollywood, but in the gaming sector, there seems not to be this giant wall of death where it's like no African culture shall pass this line. It's like there's definitely a lot more openness in the gaming community for some kind of black culture out there, right? So that's what's up. What's the time frame for 12 FPS like 24 FPS like similar, or 60 FPS? I don't know what this question is asking, so that's you turn.
I can answer. Yeah.
Okay.
Right now we're doing 24 frames per second, but that being said, if you look at some of the inspiration stuff that we mentioned, like Runeterra and some of the other stuff, sometimes they'll do like drop frame stuff, to kind of like stylize the image or to give it a little bit of different feel. And I kind of like that. I like when they do that. If you're trying to sort of suggest something as like a dream sequence or like a flashback or like a sort of jarring memory or something like that. Like I think when you go to that drop frame, it can give you a really cool look, and and kind of it operates on your psyche. You know what I mean? Like you're like, oh, what am I looking at right now? And it kind of gives it a different feeling. And I think sometimes it really works too to make something look creepy. Like if you look back at like the old Harryhausen stuff, when they used to do stop motion, like for Clash of the Titans, like the old one, not the new one, and you watch like the Medusa like walking around in the cave, they did all that on like 2s or 4s, and it gives it like a creepy vibe. It just gives it like this really weird, like it gives you the creeps when you watch it. Or the first Terminator, when they did the metal Terminator going through the factory chasing the girl, like they did all that on like 2s, and it just looks creepy, like that old stop motion, like no motion blur, like on 2s. It just gives it this weird, like, zombie vibe. And I like that. I like that stuff. So we might mix some of that stuff into the short, actually, like for some of the flashback stuff. And yeah, I think it's cool.
So you know how in Naruto's always swinging by that tree whenever he's in the middle of a fight. He's like, man, when I was a kid, I was always so lonely. And they said, doo doo doo, and you see a tree swinging, and it's like this corny tree swinging thing. And they do it every single fight in freaking Naruto for the next 12 years, right? Well, with us, right, it's gonna be Asar and Ra. You know how Ra is. Ra's gonna be. He said his flashbacks are not gonna be so kind. They're gonna be so, it was so lonely. It's gonna be like, well, Grandpa was whipping my ass the other day. He told me, do you want to die like the rest of these Spartans, or are you going to stand up with me and fight against gods? And I said, that sounds like a much more viable option. Right? So it's like that's the kind of flashbacks we're gonna be having with Asar, right? So we definitely need that energy, that creepiness to the things. It's not gonna be this, swinging tree type thing over and over.
It's not a cuddly moment.
We ain't doing all that. It ain't gonna happen, Black Sands. I'm sorry. Are there any platforms currently showing interest? Yes, can't tell you. That's all I can say. I can't tell you anything. I just know that there is. Who is tweaking the storyline to make it more mature? Me. No, I'm the writer of the series, and I've always had it more mature in my head. And I've been censoring myself the entire time making the comics. Right? I've been cutting it down specifically to make it more accessible for schools and everything else. But make no mistake, when I'm doing the show, I'm taking all those training wheels off. You know what I mean? So it was already designed to be that story. You know what I mean?
A little rough.
Yeah. Yeah, we're definitely not gonna release our 3D models. Yeah, I don't want to see no sex videos with my characters. They're gonna have to steal them like they do everything else, right? Because that easily gets out of control when you release models. Make your own damn model if you that damn want to do it so bad. Let's see. How are you confronted people's biases about accepting a cartoon of this nature? I don't care. So yeah, how are you confronting people's biases? I don't care. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like 90% of the customers of my comic books don't read comics. They're not avid comic fans that's been living comic life their entire time. They don't go to comic book shops, but they buy my comic books. The reality is I'm creating a new audience for all this stuff. And that audience is going to watch it regardless if it existed before or not. You know what I mean? So all the existing people, the existing comic book industry, the existing anime industry, it don't matter to me. I don't need them. What I need is my base, and they're going to make this a successful thing. And then everybody else is going to jump on the bandwagon out of nowhere. It's kind of like the idea of the Boondocks. You mean to tell me there was a adult cartoon black audience out there that people are like, hey, we need to tap into the adult black cartoon audience, right? Nobody thought that shit was gonna work. Right? Like when you think about it, there was no existing market for that content, right? But then the Boondocks dominated for years, and everybody got on after they realized, after the hype got up, so that's what we have to do. Build your own base, dominate that base, get it so high that everybody sees it and says, why is all these people watching that show? And then they watch it, and then all of a sudden it becomes wide, right? Yeah. It just miraculously turns wide out of nowhere. But that's the plan for this.
There's a huge audience for this already. They just haven't had content they want to be watching.
Yeah, for real. No, let's see what else. I'm only gonna take questions for about 5 more minutes, and then we're gonna kill it. We are hiring animators all the time. So, Turnus, what's the current recruitment phase?
Well, we're in recruitment now for lighters and 2D effects artists, but if you have any animators to send my way, please do, because anything that gets it done faster gets it done faster. So we have a decent sized animation team now, but I wouldn't mind having a couple extra bodies, especially people that are more experienced. That would help a lot. So, having like mid to senior level animators would definitely be great for us.
Yeah. Does Black Sands plan to have any other languages for the animation? No, but we'll probably give a whole bunch of closed captions, right? So we'll probably close caption it in multiple languages just to have like options. So if somebody in France is looking at it, they can have it all in French on the bottom. You know what I mean? I think that'd be the best way. What do you think? Yeah, I think that'll work. One day I'm an indie developer. What's the game says? Freedom Cry? Yeah, Freedom Cry. Way down the road, you planning to make video games? Yes, we are planning on making video games. That's why we're also using Unreal Engine. We're basically building all the assets now. We can do anything here once we build the assets. Turnus, expand on that.
In terms of which question? Sorry.
I'm sorry, I didn't pull it up. Let me see. There you go.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like we all the assets that we built are assets that are easily portable into Unreal to be used as game engine assets. So we could do, all kinds of like first person RPG, like anything, really. The models, we have 2 tiers of rigs already. We have the kind of production tier rig, which is the one that you see. And we have the like game tier rig, which is like a little bit less fancy, but is built for game work and grinding that stuff out. I don't know if those are 100% right now because we actually focused a lot on the production side rigs, just because that was what was important at the moment. But we do have those other rigs in the pipe as well. They're there, and we could just tweak them and get them, right in there right away. So yeah.
Cool. Let's see here. How much money do you think you'll need to be raised in order for the future anime? It's about $30 million. $30 million, and that's basically what we're going to need to do a full season of Black Sands. 8 episodes, 1-hour episodes each. All right. So this is the HBO format, right? That 46-minute episodes. Right, multiple different characters. So unlike the comics, which are solely focused on Asar and his journey, in Black Sands, the animation is gonna be more like Game of Thrones. There's a lot of stuff that's currently going on in Black Sands that we just don't have time to cover at the exact same moments, right?
Right.
But we're gonna be covering that in the anime. What's Gilgamesh doing in Sumer, right? What is going on around the world? What is going on around the world right now? What's going on with Athens and Sparta for real? What's the background behind that? Right? What's Endocles doing at all time? We only get glimpses of what Endocles, the king of Sparta, is doing in the comics. We get a couple of moments and then we get the war, right? We need to follow him throughout the entire journey. Why is he doing this? What's going on? Expand on his past. Why is he at Minoa? Right? These are the elements that we haven't even touched on that much because we just don't have time. We're trying to get through the story as fast as possible. But when it comes to the anime, you best believe we're gonna have time. And like the old dudes on TikTok say, wait a minute, did you say we have time? And then they just go crazy. They just go crazy with the animation and everything else. So expect that, right? And it's gonna cost about $30 million. Now the thing about that is, what we're going to do with $30 million is what other studios, if this was Disney doing the exact same quality work, it would cost $200 million.
More.
Probably more, yeah. Explain that to them. Why is it going to cost us $30 million what they would do it for $200 million or more?
Yeah, I mean, it's just strictly like cost and waste and overhead. Like when you're supporting a giant studio like Disney, you're supporting the overhead of a lot of artists. You're supporting like legacy. They do development for like 10 years. When I was at Disney, they were like mid development on Frozen. They'd already been working on that for 5 years. They worked another 5 years on development on Frozen before that movie even began to go into production. So like they're in a different world altogether. Like the way they spend money, it's like a completely different world. We're going to be super efficient. I've been an artist. I've been a technician, a VFX supervisor. I've seen waste at every level. I know exactly how it gets cut up. And there's like a big gravy train that gets set up. There's a whole bunch of nonsense that we're never going to suffer. And our investors are never going to suffer. Like we as a company, we're going to benefit from being efficient, being smart, building out scalable enterprise, like, you know, being a company that can scale and grow, but smartly and not have all these inefficiencies in the pipe. And that's our big advantage. And then the other big thing too on those kind of companies is just the amount of noting at the exec level. Like when you get into those executive rooms and you start watching how that noting goes. I've been on movies where the movie was 80, 90% done, like Meet the Robinsons. And somebody came in and said, you know, I don't like the characters, how they look. It reminds me too much of Orphan Annie. And they went back, redesigned all the characters. We had to reanimate almost every shot in the film. Or a film.
How much money does that waste?
Yeah, or a film, like the whole look and feel of the film changes because some execs at the top changed hands. So we were working on a movie called American Dog back at Disney. That was Chris Sanders' baby. He was the director of How to Train Your Dragon and that whole franchise. He did Lilo and Stitch. He's an amazing talent. And he had all these beautiful character designs and all this beautiful artwork. And we were developing that movie. And then when we did the merger with Pixar, John Lasseter came in and he was like, I hate this film. I hate the look of it. I hate everything about it. And he killed it. Now, they didn't kill it completely because they had a film that they had to fill a slot for in years to come. And they changed it completely, night and day. Like all the designs, everything changed. And they renamed it Bolt, that movie Bolt. And that movie came out. But that movie in no way, shape, or form resembles the story, the look, or any of the original designs or intents of that film. So they spent, I'd say, $80 million on stuff that just you never saw the light of day.
80 million on nothing, basically.
On nothing. Like you could ball it up and throw it away.
Yeah, we're not going to be doing that. We are committed. We're going to be like the suicidal ass soldiers fighting against demons and stuff. We are committed. We are committed. He said, but look, this might destroy. We are committed. We will die here. We are not moving 1 inch back. Right? It's like that's it. You gotta say that's it, man. You just gotta be committed, man. We don't got time to waste. We're not no freaking Disney. We can't just go and say, hey, we need another $200 million, investors. And the investors gonna be like, here you go. Here's 200 million more. You know, make that movie. You're like, nah.
But trust me, our 30 million is gonna look like their 250 million.
Yeah, because
like,
they have no responsibility. That's the thing about Disney. Disney, Pixar, DreamWorks, they have no responsibility at all. They get a movie once every 3 or 4 years. They're happy. They don't care, right? 20-year development, 10-year development. Who cares? Nobody cares. Nobody cares.
You know, it's what we talk about all the time in the investment rounds. The money in those films is all in licensing and merchandising. Even if the film loses money in movie receipts, in ticket receipts, in distribution, all that stuff, they could lose money on every front. As long as the thing was popular and got into kids' brains, like Cars, Cars, I don't think it's a great movie, but they developed some cool characters like, Mater and like Steve McQueen, whatever. Kids love them. And they just buy this stuff like crazy. And their licensing and merchandising revenue from those films is like, well over 10 billion by now. And that's just that one movie. So they don't care about the movie ticket sales for that movie. They don't. They really don't. Like it's a point of pride maybe. And, like they care a little bit. But if the receipts didn't add up to the cost of the film, they don't care. It's basically a big commercial for the licensing and merchandising.
Yeah. Now, one thing we will say this is, as an investor, keep your eyes on the prize, all right? You ain't going to see nothing for years, right? But when we come out with the show, even if the show doesn't, make $100, $200 million, that's not the point. If we break even, we won. because the licensing is going to go out of this goddamn world. We're talking about $100 million deals with Walmart, all this other crap like that, where they're going to be like, please let me put a SAR in a lunchbox. Please let me put a SAR in a lunchbox. We'll pay you $3 per lunchbox. Just let us do it. And they're going to be like, fine, Walmart. You can do 500,000 lunchboxes with a SAR on it. There you go. And it's just going to get out of control. It's going to get out of control.
That's where the Disneys make their money. Like that's
where they make their money. That's
Monster High, all that stuff. Like all these big franchises that sell a lot of product in the stores. Like that's what it's all about, honestly. Like it's all that extra, and then blowing up your publishing too, right? Like so, like feeding back into that.
Yeah. Hey, one person asked this question. It's not really a question; it's a statement. They said, "Why make a $250 million movie to get back $100 million? That doesn't make any sense." Tell them what happened with Cars.
Yeah, well, Cars is the classic example. It's basically what I just said. Like they can make a movie that costs that much money, and the box office doesn't even nearly, recoup what they spent. But the characters, when they go on into their licensing and merchandising cycle, all of that money you never see, you never even hear about. Like they never talk about it. Like all they ever talk about is like the box office. They say, oh, Cars, it only did this much box office, or whatever movie like only did this much. We were doing shorts out of Pixar Canada, don't make any money, right? They go on Disney Channel, whatever. Like they're only there to keep those products and those characters alive in parents and kids' minds, because there's a whole generation of kids that didn't see Cars, so like they need to see it now. And then they're like, oh my God, I love it so much. And they're in the store and they're like, Mommy, Daddy, buy me these sheets with, Steve Mater on them. I want these Mater sheets. I want this toothbrush with like Lightning McQueen on it. And that's the licensing and merchandising, and that's the stuff that makes big money for a big franchise.
What did that guy tell you when you talked to him about the? No, he didn't even tell you. He was talking to someone else, right? And you just heard the conversation about how much they were planning on. How much they were projecting to make that year for Cars or whatever.
Yeah, well, they were talking to us, like they were talking to the artistic team. So they were just basically, because we were asking the question, like, why are we making these expensive shorts, right? Because the shorts we were making, they cost a lot of money. Like we were making like very expensive little shorts. And he said, it's all about licensing and merchandising. We have to keep the product stream alive. And he told us, he was like, that year they were slated to crest $6 billion. This was back in 2010. They were going to crest $6 billion just on Cars merchandising alone. Just Cars, not Toy Story, not any other movie, just Cars. And they said at the end of its cycle, it was going to be at least $10 billion before it was all said and done. And they're still making money off that stuff still to this day.
So you see right there, so they didn't give a damn how much those films made. They didn't care if it made money at all, so long as they kept putting that image in your head that this is popular, right? And that's what we're doing. We're trying to get it in your face, popular, so that we can go to Walmart and say, pay us to exist, right? And they're going to be like, oh yeah, we definitely need to sell those book bags. We definitely need to sell those socks. All these things that we're not going to pay a single dollar to create. They're going to create them.
That's why they keep making Spider-Man movies.
Yeah.
They're going to make Spider-Man movies until the end of time.
Spider-Man is worth 60% of the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe. Spider-Man is worth 60% of all Marvel. So all of Marvel combined, 60% is Spider-Man, right? That's why they mad as hell that Sony got that character for life. They mad as shit about that. and Disney pays an absurd amount of money to Sony in order to simply put Spider-Man in any of the films, because Spider-Man is the cash cow of the entire Marvel universe.
Yeah. Yep. And that's it. People are going to want a SAR gear. They're going to want to get Halloween costume. They're going to want like everything. Like they're just going to want it all.
Yeah. So that's the idea. That's what we're going to be doing. So let's keep our eyes to the prize. Make sure it's hype, man. If you already invested in BSP Comics, make sure that's a big thing, because the more people we have in our base, the better it's going to be for everybody in this space. And also make sure to tell your friends. If you already invested in our company, bring friends and family to the party, man. Bring them in. Just like we all hyped when we were getting Trump out of office. right? We got to have that same energy when it comes to making this production. It can't just be us going to the polls and dropping our investment in. We got to make sure everybody else did too, right? You got to make sure the people that don't know, and then we'll get this done. You know what I mean? We're pretty transparent. Yeah. It's not like we're hiding. We're not hiding our information. We're telling you everything that we're doing, and we're very transparent on everything. All right. So thank you guys. It's been a really good meeting. This will be here for anybody's future reference if they need to go and catch up on things if you got in here late. But yeah, this was a private meeting between all of our investors and patrons in order to talk about the animations for Black Sands, the Seven Kingdoms. All right. Thank you guys so much. See y'all later.
Bye. Thank you.